Carpet, stop shuffling your papers. Award season's almost here. The Golden Globe nominees are out, and many of the movies were just released this past weekend or they're coming out this upcoming weekend. Ray Barker joins us now from North Park Theater with his takes on some of the flicks. And let's just start with some of the timing here. It seems like they announced the nominations pretty early. Some of the movies aren't even out yet.
Yeah, that's part of the influence of the Golden Globes, is that their nominations come out right before the Oscar nominating window, so they're held to be very influential.
Oh, very, very interesting. I know Into the Woods was one that a lot of people are expecting to be nominated for Oscars. Also, Foxcatcher. This has 3 nominations. Tell us about this film.
Foxcatcher is an intense film. It stars Steve Carell, that most people know from his comedic roles. This time he plays a really dark character. He plays a multimillionaire named DuPont who's recruiting 2 brothers for the USA wrestling team right before they go to the Olympics in Seoul. But he starts to play a kind of psychological mind game with the brothers and does some harm.
It's kind of disturbing. I've seen the trailer a couple of times. It's very disengaging to see Steve Carell in a role like that.
Yeah, he's got the makeup on. He really looks completely different. That's probably something he wanted to do. He didn't want to be typecast doing comedic roles for his entire career, so he's really using some very exaggerated makeup.
And you think we might see him win a couple of dramatic acting awards for this?
I think he's definitely a contender. I don't know that he's there's any overall favorite, but he's certainly possible to win.
And Theory of Everything is also a big talker. This one looks really good.
Theory of Everything about Stephen Hawking and his wonderful yet tragic life and what happens to him with his condition and his marriage. And this stars Eddie Redmayne, who's been in some wonderful roles, but this one's really put him on the map as a big star.
Yeah, people will recognize him from Les Miserables. That was probably his most well-known role as of this point. He just got married over the weekend. This is going to be a guy that people are going to want to know a lot about this award season, I have a feeling.
Yeah, he was in War Horse too, if you remember. Came out a couple of years ago about the First World War. Really does a nice job in this one.
All right. Best Motion Picture, that's a comedy or musical, kind of switching gears to the more lighter side of things. Birdman is one of the most nominated films for the Globes. What's this one about?
Well, this is about an actor who played a superhero role, and he's become so identified with the role it's kind of dominated his life, and he wants to reinvent himself as a Broadway director and producer. Right. So he's got his whole life savings and everything in the line in being a Broadway star again, but people still think of him as Birdman.
And who's the star of this one?
This is Michael Keaton, and of course, who better to play this role than Michael Keaton, who was so associated with Batman for a while. This is a film from Fox Searchlight, which has had a great year, more nominations than any other studio. In fact, they've had just a string of hits this year.
Let's talk about Into the Woods now. I mean, Meryl Streep is, of course, being talked about as someone that might get a lot of awards for this role. It's going to be interesting to see her in a character role like this, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Meryl Streep never disappoints. The movie itself is based on a play by Stephen Sondheim. So it's these kind of fairy tale characters that come to life with a really interesting musical score and some great supporting performances, including from James Cobden, who just got a big late-night gig. So we're interested in looking to see what he can do as well.
And lots of big names in this one, too. I mean, when we're thinking ahead to award season, the stars of this movie are who everyone's going to want to see on the red carpet.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this one is one would think it would be for kids, but it's really too dark for kids.
Okay.
So what's going to happen to it at the box office?
What do you think?
Well,
box office man?
I have my skepticism about how much legs it has. I mean, I think it might be really too much for adults, but then with nominations, you never know.
And has that been made into a movie before, Into the Woods, or is this the first film adaptation?
This is the first film adaptation.
All right, should be interesting to see. Let's talk about some of the lead actors that have been nominated for a comedy or musical film. Who's your favorite here?
Well, Michael Keaton probably my favorite for lead comedy or musical. But
actually, let's talk about the actors for drama. So we talked about Steve Carell and Foxcatcher. Is he your favorite, or do you like any of the others?
No, definitely like some of the other performances that we have there. A newcomer for Selma, David Oyelowo, who plays Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., getting a lot of attention. This is a film about the civil rights struggle and the march from Selma to Montgomery.
And Oprah's involved in that one, right?
Oprah's always involved in these kind of films.
Hollywood as responsive to Oprah films as the rest of America is? Like, will the people who vote on these want to give it to Oprah's film?
I think it's when she gets involved, it gets attention.
Okay.
And then the media pays attention, and then it kind of gets the conversation going. Now, in that category, music or comedy, I have to mention a small little film from Britain called Pride, which we actually played at the North Park in the fall.
Right?
It was a wonderful film about the 1984 miners' strike in Britain, which was supported by gay and lesbian activists. But it's not a film just for gay people. It's a film for everybody. It's about working people. It's about pride. It's about dignity. It's about community. It's about small towns. Great character performances in this one. It was very, I think, courageous of the Golden Globes to give such a small film a big nomination like that.
And how was it received here with our local audiences?
Absolutely loved it. I mean, we had people coming out, all different walks of life, union people, you know, every walk of life who saw it and thought it was, you know, reaffirming. Kind of those.
And what you have at North Park now, Wild, starring Reese Witherspoon, she has earned a nomination for this film as well.
Yes, Reese Witherspoon. I think she is going to win this category, and I'm a little bit biased because we're playing her film, but this is based on the Cheryl Strayed novel, which many people have read and loved, about a woman's 1,000-mile trek across the country, and all that she goes through to deal with the tragedy that's happened in her life.
And how is she in it? How is she?
It's a breakout performance for her. I think she wants to escape Legally Blonde and Sweet Home Alabama. She does.
Well, she does have her Oscar too. She already has one, right?
For June Carter Cash, that's right.
Yeah.
She deserves a lot of credit, but I think she even goes one further in this movie by being very vulnerable and playing a very edgy role.
Okay, and is this also a real life person? Is this based on a true story?
It's based on a true story, and I think Reese does everything she can to make it feel real.
All right, and that's playing at the North Park right now, right?
Playing at the North Park. We'll be glad to see you.
And what else do you have? You have some more holiday films coming up before Christmas?
We have a tremendously successful family matinee series on Saturdays and Sundays. We've been showing some of the classics like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and Miracle on 34th Street. But we're going to show Raiders of the Lost Ark coming up this weekend. So for those who want to see the Harrison Ford film on the big screen for the first time, please come on down.
You got to see that on the big screen, right?
Absolutely. You can't miss that one.
Absolutely. Ray Barker, thanks so much for coming in from the North Park Theater. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you, and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Lauren. Thank you very much.
We're going to toss back out to Emily Lenahan now. She's standing by ready for her next .com check. Hi, Em.
Hey.